Good morning, friends. Hey, hi, Robin. Karen, good morning to you. Glad you're here. Hey, Jane and John, you did make it. Hi. So glad you're here. How is everyone? It's good to see you. I'm just this is a it's a busy morning. I'm running from our Bible study from 9 to 10, and then from 10 to 11 we have the clergy meeting locally, and now I'm rolling right into spending time with you all. It is it's Paxi time. Oh, that's exciting, right? John, good morning. Just minute. Good morning, John. Well, I hope you find your way home. Good morning, Vicky. Nice to see you this morning. Coming by to get your water bottle. Excellent. Oh, if you do not know the magic of Paxies, then I don't know. I know I'm saying it wrong, but like I, I'm what I am. But they are these beautiful, lovely Polish donutty things that are. It's National Ukulele Day. How did I not know this? I am so ill prepared for today. Oh my God. How did I know it's not Paxi time? Why am I not eating Paxis and singing and playing ukulele right now? I have failed you all. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Um, and the fact that National Ukulele Day is actually on Candlemas on this day, on Groundhog Day, is no small thing. Punchki. That's right. She's only told me this like 100 times. Punchki. Thank you. But they're wonderful. Look them up. Find them. I'm sure there's got to be some um, down in the south end of town. It's got to be some down in the Globe. I've got to be a bakery down there. Oh, the day just got better. So very exciting. All right, good welcome everybody. It is the second day of February at 11:11, and I'm glad you're here on this Groundhog Day, otherwise known as Candlemas, also known as the Day of the Lord's of Mary's Purification. There's all sorts of things. It is also National Ukulele Day, and also the Punchkis are in. Like, how can the day get better? I do not know. But we are a fortunate and blessed people today for sure. And I talk about this in if you've seen the newsletter, I talk about this in our newsletter, but a little bit about this day, this Candlemas Day, which is also kind of often was linked into St. Breed's Day as well, that a part of the Celtic festivals of yore, and that there's so much. But the richness of this day. So it is Groundhog Day also. And which all of this is tied together in what's going on in the natural world, and the way that what's going on in the natural world is actually telling us about what's going on in our heart and in our mind and in the regeneration of God with God's people, the redemption of our journey. So it's friends, we're an incarnational people. We're incarnational. We're an incarnational faith. We believe that it's all about what's happening, in our little meat suits here, and what that God coming into the world to be with us, and us being in the world, and so that you can think about, well, that's the natural world, and this is the rhythm in the natural world. This is the rhythm of our spiritual lives. How they're all the same thing. They're all the same rhythm. They're all the same patterns. They're all the same beauty. They're all the same gorgeousness. They might be different levels. They might have gradations of beauty, because really, like, a punchki is like, when it touches your lips, it's like the most beautiful sugary thing you've ever had. So, but this all of this is this coming of the shining of light. So, by the way, if you don't know, Punxsutawney Phil did in fact see his shadow today. So we are bound for 6 more weeks of winter. That is the promise from the little rodent. But this tradition, so Candlemas is this day, and it is the tradition in the ancient church where there would be a blessing of the beeswax candles that would be used for both in worship in the church, but also and especially everybody would bring their candles in from home and have them blessed. And then their candles would go back to either their little home altar or even the illumination of their home as it is. We're in a world now that we've got 100 years of electric light. We're spoiled rotten when it comes to the idea of illuminating our life and our world. But in the early church, now, and I want you just to hear this. This is one of the oldest traditions in the church. That you go, if you don't believe me, go look it up. That you can go that this tradition of 40 days after Christmas, on the 2nd of February, you brought in all the stuff that was going to illuminate your life, all the stuff that was going to bring light and life to your life over the next year. You brought it to church, and it was blessed on the altar, and then you took it home for the illumination of your home, so that the light that shone in your home was a blessed light. Consider this. Consider this ritual. Consider the power of this. And it's all geared around and all built off of the purification of Mary when Mary goes to the temple 40 days after, and the feast of what was called then the Feast of Presentation. That Jesus is pure. Jesus is presented to the temple. The light of the world is presented to the center of life in Jerusalem. To consider this. Consider this metaphor for what's happening. Don't even consider it as a metaphor, because this metaphor is even the wrong word. It's even more powerful. It's not like that. A metaphor is like it was. This is like that. This is that in a small and tiny way. The bringing of the light of the world, Jesus the Christ, at 40 days after Christmas, into the center of the holiest place in the world for the Jewish people, into the center of the temple in Jerusalem, to have this child blessed. What does it say to us about bringing the light of the world into the center of our holiest of holies, into the center of our holiest of holies in our homes, and letting it illuminate, be the promise of the illumination of the year? It's beautiful. It's a beautiful rhythm. It's a beautiful invitation. And it's not just beautiful, but it's beautiful because it's real. Because it is the way that God works with us, that God presents God's self to the center of us for blessing, and that insofar as we can pull it off, insofar as we can accept that which comes, that the time of purification, that 40 days, this ritual of purification, which was part of the Mosaic Law, comes in Luke 22. I want to read you this. I've laid all this out for you so that maybe you can hear this text a little bit different and hear what's going on here, and hear how it's related to this blessing of the light. Because here's the light of the world. Here's Mary and Joseph who brought the light of the world into the center of the most holy place, and how we bring our light, that which will illuminate our lives, to the altar for blessing on this day, and all of it because it's tied into the natural world. Again, that this time, the 2nd of February, is this time, the reason the groundhog sees his shadow, the reason that we're because now there's shadows to be seen, that the light is high enough in the sky so that we actually have shadows. We just don't have this opaqueness around, because when the sun is so low, it actually doesn't. It makes the shadows even harder to distinguish because they're so large. That it's this time when we're encountering the light once again from the point of darkness. All of this is at work. Now hear the presentation of the temple again. Hear these words. You may have heard them many times. Maybe you've never heard them before. But this is the presentation of Jesus in the temple. When the time came for the purification rites required by the law of Moses, and this Mary does this. Remember, this is Joseph. He's the taxi driver. He doesn't have anything. Mary is a part of the purification rites. Mary took him to Jerusalem to present him to the Lord, or as was written in the law of the Lord, every firstborn male be consecrated to the Lord, and offer a sacrifice in keeping with what is said in the law of the Lord, a pair of doves or 2 young pigeons. Now, there was a man called Simeon, who was righteous and devout, and he was waiting for the consolation of Israel, and for the Holy Spirit was on him. It had been revealed by him that the Holy Spirit, that he would not die before he had seen the Lord's Messiah. He would not die before he had seen the Lord's Messiah. He was moved by the Spirit. He went into the temple courts, and when the parents brought the child Jesus to do for him what the custom of the law required, Simeon took him in his arms, praised God, saying, "Sovereign Lord, as you have promised, you may now dismiss your servant in peace, for my eyes have seen your salvation, which you have prepared in the sight of all nations, a light for revelation to the Gentiles, and the glory of your people Israel." A light for revelation. I want you to consider, what would it be? What would it be? As it was in the way that these festivals were kept, what would it be that if every time we flicked a switch in the house, every time we walked into a room and said, Alexa, turn on house, every time we walked into a place, and every time it was illuminated, we knew that illumination was a direct result of the fact that Christ had, and a direct symbol of the fact that Christ had brought the light of the world to the center of the temple, the light of the world to the center of our lives. I hope you're with me on this. I hope you're picking up what I'm laying down. It's so beautiful, and it's so deep, and it's so wonderful that these things that we in modernity, we can turn on light anytime. We've managed to insulate ourselves from these rhythms, and to our detriment. To our detriment. We wonder sometimes why we feel disconnected from other people. We wonder sometimes maybe why we feel disconnected even from the Lord. We maybe wonder why we feel disconnected from all the things that are a part of our lives, and yet these deep lines and rituals are still there, just waiting for us to step into them. Now, I'm not saying unscrew all the light bulbs in your house and bring them down and I'll bless them. That's not the suggestion. I don't think that's the point of this. But the point is to remember that when we sing, our silly camp songs, when we sing "This Little Light of Mine," when we sing these songs, that this little light of mine is the light that shines in our home. This is the light that shines in us. Is the very light of Christ. It is the very light which is laid out for revelation to the Gentiles and for the glory of your people Israel. That the light that shines in you and on you and around you is for glory and for beauty and for goodness. And that it shines even in the midst of darkness, even in the midst of a groundhog that sees his shadow and says we're going to have 6 more weeks of winter, even in these things. So I want to invite you to these traditions. I want to invite you to this February 2nd. I want to invite you to hold your own Candlemas a little bit, to just recognize that every light you see, whether it's the billboard in Times Square, or whether it is the light over your head or on your desk or table, or whether it is the lights and the flame that we will light on the church communion table as we break bread this Sunday, wherever the light is, that knows that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. And that we come to strip ourselves down, we come to the rites of purification, we come to place the light of the world, to place Jesus the Christ in the temple at the center of the world and at the center of our lives. This beauty, this tradition. You know, if you in the traditions of in the many of the Spanish traditions, that if you get a king cake, which you get in the which you often find happens around some do it around Christmas, some do it on Epiphany, but somewhere it's a Christmas celebration, and it has within it a little baby, and that if you get a little baby, you are actually called to bring if you get the baby, if you're the one who gets the blessing, which is that's the receiving a blessing in the cake, you are actually invited to bring and feed the people whom you are with, to gather them again on Candlemas, on this day, and feed them. And it's your job to feed them. Because when you've been blessed, the job is not to hold on to that blessing. When you've received light, the job is not to hold on to that light, but it is to shine it into the world and to feed all those others that you will encounter. And this literal ritual, this literal way of a pattern that we live out is a way of internalizing and spiritualizing. Because the thing is it's like, I know I've said this before, but it's like the great Eliade, Merced Eliade says, the best things we can't talk about. The second best things we talk about and we get wrong. So whenever we start talking about things, we're always talking about the third best things. And that some things, this is me now, or this is not him, but is that some things are so true that we have to act them out. Being a parent is so true that you can't just talk about being a parent. It's so true. Being a husband or a wife, being a church member, being just being even who you are is so big and so massive. It's not a thing you can talk about. It's a thing that you simply act out. It's a thing that you do. And so too with all of these rituals and all of these things, they're a thing that we act out and that we live out and that we do. And that the little cake ritual that happens in a lot of countries around this day, around Candlemas, is another sign and another seal of the way that we bless others and that we receive blessing ourselves. The light of the world comes to the center of the temple as Mary steps into the purification ritual. The light of the world sets into our hearts as we make a place for it and try to clean up our act in whatever miserable, failed way that we do that. The light of the world comes to us to dwell in the center of our being. And the ancients have been declaring this, that we need to shine this little light of mine. So my hope is that you'll get a little earworm with that too. That even though you might be a little more disappointed about the fact that we have 6 more weeks of winter, if you trust Punxsutawney Phil, but that you know that the light that dwells in the world, the light that dwells in you, and the light that shines forth from you comes not from all your good hard work, not from your laboring, but from your presentation, from your presenting yourself before the Holy of Holies. And in it, we are made holy. In it, we are made whole. In it, our wounds are tended. In it, our griefs are nursed. In it, love becomes manifest and it shines forth from us. Friends, this is the promise of this day. This is the promise of Candlemas. So bless your light wherever you find it. Bless your light in your home. Bless your light in your life. Bless your light in all of its little physical forms, just so that you might know blessing and that you might share blessing with this little light of mine. All right, friends, that's my hope for you today. And I hope on this Groundhog Day, peace and grace to you all. Thank you for being here, and thank you for being on this journey with me. It means the world. All right. See you tomorrow, friends, with another 11:11.